Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Eco Business Podcast. My name is Jessica Chiam, and I'm delighted to be hosting the latest conversation in our Climate Tech in Asia series that explores the ideas, companies, and policies reshaping how this region is responding to a changing world and the investment opportunities emerging from it. Today, I'm hosting a special edition of the podcast, which is focused on Asia's largest sustainability innovation platform, the Livability Challenge. This is an annual global initiative presented by Temasek Foundation and organized by EcoBusiness that seeks innovative, groundbreaking solutions to address urban challenges in the tropics. It crowdsources the world for the best sustainability solutions and provides both the funding and ecosystem support to take these ideas from laboratory to the market. This year, TLC is back with a record pledge of more than $4 million in catalytic funding and support to accelerate sustainability innovations from lab to market in the areas of decarbonization and cool earth. Today, we're very excited to have as our guests Jane Zhang, the head of Southeast Asia and Singapore for Breakthrough Energy, one of TLC's partners. Breakthrough Energy is a Bill Gates founded organization that backs and helps to scale technologies aimed at cutting greenhouse gas emissions, primarily by funding and supporting clean energy and industrial decarbonization innovation. We also have Yi Ching, who's co-founder and project director at Green Corp, one of the finalists of TLC's 2024 edition. And Green Corp enables the circular economy by enabling the conversion of bio-waste into renewable energy solutions with a primary focus in maritime and transportation industries. Welcome, ladies, to the Eco Business Podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Jessica.
Thank you so much for making the time. Perhaps I can start off this conversation by setting a little bit of a macro picture. We've had quite an interesting start to the year. And I think that we had seen that due to many geopolitical changes, there has been, quite a lot of challenges facing the global community, especially in the area of climate pledges. In particular, I think the United States has rolled back climate commitments, and this has created quite a fragile environment for the climate tech ecosystem. But at the same time, the climate crisis is accelerating, and there are many, many urgent challenges that we need to fix. And out of this, I think there is a recognition that we really need an urgent focus on innovations and to scale that up to help to solve our pricing problems. So, Jane, perhaps I can start off with you. How are you actually thinking about the global picture today? And what does innovation mean to you in this present time?
We have been, and since 10 years ago, has set up this global investment platform to really accelerate climate and clean energy innovations from lab to market. So innovation is not just about the research, it's not just about the technology, it's not just about technology development, it's also about the deployment, get to the market. And one thing I think it's certainly, I think the part of the innovation we are focusing on is called so-called hard tech. Unlike software in type of technologies, climate and clean energy innovation often involves deployment, well, developing actually physical products, hardware, industrial processes, such as what Green Corp is working on, and moving through the prototyping, scaling up, and demonstration. So this journey from lab to market is long, complex, and capital intensive. And so innovation in this space is not just about the new idea and technology, as I mentioned, it's about execution, deployment, and delivering tangible market value and the impact. And regarding the climate VC and the investment space, this is according to Sideline Climate. Climate tech funding actually increased 8% in 2025. However, the deal counts, the number of deals fall to a 4-year low. So much smaller number of deals. And also there's another data shows that the growth fund is up, but early stage is down. So this is putting really huge challenge for the early stage startups and to get capital, to get funding, and be able to de-risk their technology and go to the market. On the other hand, we also see it's more consolidated. Investors are doubling down on startups with strong fundamentals. This is the market differentiating tech, viable business models, and credible paths to deployment. You mentioned giving this geopolitical challenges. This is both really challenging and also could potentially be opportunities. What we see is innovations that boost energy security, like renewables, energy storage, strong supply chains, access to critical resources such as critical metals and geothermals, and innovations supporting, enabling domestic manufacturing. So those are drawing growing interest. Another, of course, big focus in the so-called overall hard tech, climate, and clean energy innovation space is how to harvesting the rapid evolving power of AI. So I just stop here.
Yeah, no, Jane, thank you so much. That's really, really fascinating. And I think I'm really encouraged to hear that actually the investment flows into climate tech is still strong and increased, like you said. It's just that the number of deals are smaller and therefore, I suppose gravitating to more growth stage companies, like you mentioned, make it quite hard for seed and early stage startups to get a grounding. Perhaps on this point, Yi Ching, I'll bring you in here because Green Corp has, had quite a lot of success, since becoming a TLC Grand Finale finalist. And I think, congratulations on also being selected by Breakthrough Energy to join the Fellows Program. How has the global environment been for you? And, how are you actually responding to the current challenges and opportunities in this space?
Thank you for having me today, Jessica. So I would say in the climate investment space in 2026, that there is a strong interest in the sustainable technologies. But the geopolitical and also the economic challenges are making the investor more selective. So, but what we think is that the opportunity is, however, very clear. Startup that can demonstrate real impact, credible technology, and also a path to adopt that are the one will attract the attention and also drive the change.
That's wonderful. And how has it been for you specifically? Are you finding challenges finding corporate adopters, partners? Is the funding environment still very positive for you?
I would say the funding environment is slow, but then it's still very positive.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Jane, perhaps I can just come to you because Green Corp is, one of the fellows for the Breakthrough Energy Program. Can you tell us a little bit about this program and how are you helping to, seed startups at that stage and help them to, sort of de-risk some of the some of the challenges that they see and so that they can enable their solutions to reach a larger market?
Yeah, thanks. The Breakthrough Energy, as you briefly mentioned earlier, is a global investment platform. This is funded by Bill Gates about 10 years ago, and the focus on accelerating climate and clean energy innovation and building the industries of the future, basically helping building the company of the future. What we have been working basically in the multiple so-called programs or there's a multiple divisions under Breakthrough Energy platform. Breakthrough Energy Fellows is one of the earliest one. So we basically focus on early stage startups. And through this Fellows program, focusing on working closely with the science founder to de-risk their technology, shaping business models, validate product market fit. We are also providing funding, access to global networks, technology de-risking guidance, and support for commercial scale up. As mentioned earlier, the capital environment is challenging for startups, especially hard tech startup, early stage startup. And our program is designed to helping companies like Green Corp managing this longer development timelines and capital constraint and deployment risks, and specifically providing fundings. This is the fundings that can allow the founders can dedicate it full time on building the company. Also hands-on support and provided through our technology management team as well as a business fellow to guiding the startups to really, really hone in on what is the target market and what is your future market, but what is realistically the target market that you can deploy, and finding customer be able to deploy technology faster. And then along the way, the various technical and commercial risks and how to strategically organizing it, helping de-risking those different elements to moving the technology and also moving the company through the funnel.
That's really, really interesting. Thank you, Jane. And Yiqing, can I hear from you on, that journey of being in the Breakthrough Energy Program? How has that helped you? And, how has it really aided this problem statement that you're trying to solve in commercializing your product?
Yeah. So I will say being part of the breakthrough energy ecosystem is really very highly valuable for Green Corp. So as a technology enabler, converting the agri waste into biobutanol, so we are actually sitting at a very complex part of the value chain. So which is between the feedstock owner, industrial operator, and also the end users. So the ecosystem actually provides us more than just funding. So it gave us the access to the technical expertise, the strategic guidance, as well as the connection that help us better in defining our commercialization pathway and also our scale up strategy. And also, one things that we have learned building in like climate tech, hard tech, is that the challenges isn't the technology itself, it's actually the system around it. Like for example, when the science works, the industrial partner are naturally very cautious. So no one wanted to be the first one to adopt a new technology process unless it has been proven at scale. So that is like the first of a kind risk is very, very real. So we really appreciate if the breakthrough energy support on helping us to navigate through this. And that's really helped us a lot.
That's really wonderful. Can you name a few partners that were your early adopters? And how did you, convince them, I suppose, to really, take a first step into adopting these new solutions? I mean, we need more of these corporates who are willing to actually try new tech and scale them up, right? Because we are actually facing such acute issues right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are actually partnering with one of the biggest plantation in Malaysia, which is IOI. So they are actually providing us with the feedstock, and also we are using the feedstock to convert it into biofuel. So that was in a pilot scale, and we will be working with them towards the commercial scale. But then that one's still in discussion. So yeah, we couldn't really like share much. But that is one of the partners that we are working with.
That's wonderful. Can we go back a little bit more to the origin story as well? When you signed up for the Livability Challenge in 2024, where were you in that journey, and how did, being part of TLC as well, contribute to that journey that you're on?
So I would say being like part of the Market Livability Challenge was really an eye-opening for us. So TLC is not really just about lab experiments. It's about creating solution that can actually fit into a real-world industrial systems. So it helped us to think bigger. So how our technology isn't just about fuel, but also about circular economy and also resource efficiency. And it also gave us a chance to connect with people who really understand what it brings, what it takes to bring the new climate tech to the market. So yeah, I would say right now we are still like in the early commercialization phase. So we are scaling up, running tests, and also at the same time we are talking to regulators, potential customers, and also like city authorities, trying to understand what approval we will be needed.
I see. So how did you decide to work on, this bio waste to biofuel solution? And you have some patents as well, I see. And how difficult was it to get these patents? And where do you see this industry going in the future?
Okay, so how we get started is that we actually spun off from NUS. So one of the co-founder, he is actually the inventor of this technology. So we are thinking this is actually a very, very good solution to solve the waste problem as well as the biofuel issues, the lack of biofuel issues. So that is how we started. And yeah, along the way, we found out there is like really a lot of waste issue, which the waste are just like get disposed of in the way that create emission. So and also on the other hand, the industry like maritime, aviation, and even the chemicals, they are actually under pressure to decarbonize. But the decarbonization path is really complicated. The infrastructure, the safety, the regulation, everything needs to line up. So what we are doing is really to take the waste and turn it into something valuable. Yeah. So that is our mission, I would say.
Yeah, no, and that's incredible. And have you, I suppose, sort of calculated the sort of emission saving and the emission reduction that you can achieve and scale as well? And what does that look like?
So we have actually got the ISCC certification, and from that the GHG calculation from the certification, we are able to achieve up to 83% of GHG reduction based on our process itself.
Wow, okay, that's really amazing. Jane, I'll come back to you because I think you spotted Green Cup in one of the TLC editions, and even though they were not one of the grand finalists, but I think all the finalists that come to the TLC actually are very high quality innovations. What is your strategy for building your pipeline, and how do you actually look for these startups around the region to support?
Right. So I think, as I mentioned, the Breakthrough Energy is a global investment platform. About 1.5 years ago, about 2 years ago, to extend as a part of our global reach and impact, to extend the global reach and impact. As part of our strategy, we launched the first international hub here in Singapore. Breakthrough Energy Fellows of Southeast Asia, together with two wonderful partners, Temasek and Enterprise Singapore. The program supports as I mentioned, science-based founders in Singapore, both in Singapore and across Southeast Asia. I came to Singapore from the US, and around that time, since the launch, we have onboarded 7 early stage startups, including Green Cup. How we source our the candidates that's we would like for them to apply considering our program is through the ecosystem. Because I think really want to emphasize the Singapore's vibrant startup ecosystem, and backed by the leading programs such as the Livability Challenge, National Grip, Peer 71s, and along with the several institutions like NUS, NTU, and A-Stars. This really helped us identify high quality founders and companies, specifically regarding how did I find the Green Cup from the TLC. I believe one of your the final demo day videos. This is initially, I think this was there's several channels actually mentioned the companies. One was a Peer 71. I had meetings when I first came to country, meeting all the ecosystem players, and then the Peer 71, and also was I believe through the NUS GRIP program, they were also on the list. This is when I learned about the TLC. I look at the YouTube recording. I also noticed the Green Cup.
Yeah, I love this story because, it kind of takes a village, right, to get these startups off the ground and to make them successful. And I think you're right that the ecosystem support is so fundamental to it, because it's not just the funding, but how do we actually help them get adopters and, professionalize the tech and to scale that up. And that's super important. But Jane, I'm super curious. So you said that you selected 7. What is the profile of the other startups, and are they all from the region? Is it majority from Singapore or elsewhere? And is there an X factor that's among them that you look out for?
Right. The 7 companies with us by now is about, since we're here at 1.5 years, about 1.5 years, 2 of them from what we so-called the cohort 4, so that we onboarded them to our program late 2024, and both of them based in Singapore, and I think both of them were spinned out from National University of Singapore, NUS. But then last October, we onboarded another 5, 4 of them from Singapore, including Green Corp, 1 from Malaysia. And as we are continue, have an outreach across the region, we'll see more, startups both in Singapore and also from the region.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And what sort of innovations are they offering or problem statements that they're solving?
Right. Maybe I can quickly go through the 7 companies. They're working in 2 of them are working in sustainable low carbon fuel. One is a company called Ceratec. They're working on a pathway, which is a thermal pathway, catalytic technology converting biogas to biomethanol for maritime decarbonization. The other one is Green Corp, and there is a different pathway. It's a more bio pathway, but they are also converting agricultural waste and to low carbon fuel. And because transportation is one of the 5 ground challenges and the breakthrough we're really focusing on. The other 4 is electricity and buildings, agriculture, and manufacturing. So I mentioned this 2 are focusing on the low carbon fuel, different pathway and converting agricultural waste, which is in the Southeast Asia. That's the really opportunity, right? The third one is a company called Incor, working on extracting critical metals from used EV batteries. This is also, as I mentioned earlier, companies are focusing on the supply chain, enhancing supply chain, and access to critical metals that can be very, very, in this time, and it's really a focus area where investors are be interested. Lincor is working on a proprietary process to do that, and the other company is working on building in the building environment. This is based on about 10 years research from a national university. Sorry, this is NTU, Nanyang Technology University. They converting that research result into product, cooling paint. This is a painting system for buildings. Will be able to reducing the surface temperature a couple of degrees compared to the incumbent. This is also very significant, not only be able to reducing the energy use and improving energy efficiency and saving clients money, at the same time be able to really helping in the building the resilience and to the heat waves, right? So that's the built environment company. The other one is actually originated from A-Star. This company is called Deep Cycle Eco. They are working on plastic recycling and upcycling, so they can turn the plastic and the textile and into monomer, and this is the feedstocks to go into another various chemical process to produce a wide range of consumer and industrial product. So they are working on commercializing that process, which is a proprietary one-step low-cost process to upcycling the plastic. The other 2, the last 2, I mentioned the 5, is working in, I would say, sustainable agriculture space. A company called Corportec. This is the Malaysia base. They're working on using carbon nanodot to enhance photosynthesis, and so really helping in producing increasing the yields from either the rice production or other vegetable production. The last one is a company called Terra Oleo. They're working on alternative way and producing lipid and fats using precision fermentation. That's also a bio pathway. So if you hear, and almost all of them are based on the latest research, either spin out from NUS, NTU, A-Star, and other universities. but focusing on translating that research into real-world solutions and in the various areas, and both be able to have scalability at the same time, reducing CO2 emission and really driving sustainable economy. So you're asking what we're looking for from the company we are investing. Those are some of the what you call it's not the criteria, but the ones we're looking for, right? So
yeah, super interesting, the profiles.
Right. So the brightest, best early stage founders with the ambition to bring their technology to market. That's important. We're looking for.
Yeah.
And then especially innovative solution grounded in differentiating science with a strong potential to scale.
That's really, really interesting. Thank you for taking the time to, explain all these really, exciting innovations. I just wonder, is the same thesis going to guide you in future investments going forward, given the current climate? You mentioned earlier that, funding is even harder for early stage startups. Have you seen, really, really good solutions really struggle? And what can we do as an ecosystem to really support these climate tech startups?
Yes, we do see, especially as I mentioned earlier, even though overall last year the climate investment is actually increased. And also if you look at from even broader, the energy transition investment is also increased. Last year was record high. But the early stage is the investment is coming down and also number of deals coming down. So it is very challenging. If without new innovations, we will not be able to really tackle those ground challenges and really bring the transition and the transformation in the economy and also in energy transition. So this early stage innovation is absolutely important. So this is why the Breakthrough Energy Fellows Program we exactly built for that. We know this is a really long game. It's complex, and especially at this junction of early stage startup. For the founders with ambitions, with the technologies, but they want to really turn that into solution building the companies, they do need funding. This funding needs to come from various places. The capital is very important. But in addition to capital, it is the skills, it is commercialization, it is the, how do I put it? Because a lot of science-based founders, they're graduate, they're PhDs. They're very good at continual working on technology development, and they're good at science and technology, but they are eager to turn into real-world solution that require additional skill. And really require understand the industry, require understand the market, require even how to strategically get to the market. So those are the ones are part of the important part, integrate part of our element. So we have a curriculums and workshops that set up tailored to science-based hard tech founders. And that's why I also mentioned we have a full-time business fellow and technology management teams on hands-on guidance. And another thing I want to also mention is quite important for those founders is through the program, we actually connect, this is a global program. Southeast Asia founders in our program is integral part of our global core. So they will be able to connect with like-minded founders. They're facing similar challenge in other region, and to have exchange learnings and share insights. And at the same time, they also have access to our global networks, the Breakthrough Energy networks globally. So we try to build something really thinking about at this stage of the founder technology, what is it they need? What is lacking? What is gaps? So our program is designed around close that gap, not just capital. Capital is very important, but all of those resources.
They're really interesting. Thank you so much, Jane, for that very detailed look at that journey. Yicheng, I just want to ask you, sort of like with the context of what Jane has shared, what is your ask, if we sort of bring the regulators in, perhaps the banks, and the corporate adopters, do you feel that there is enough support being provided here in the Asia ecosystem, or do you feel like there's, still a lot of structural barriers that you've had to fight as a founder?
So I would say, so we can see that from different aspects. So first, I would say probably the funding. So to be honest, for hard tech startups, so the toughest gap is still the space between like the pilot and also the commercial scale. So that is where capital needs are high and risks are still being proven and the returns will take time. So in reality, you can't just rely on single funding sources. So you take a mix. Like I think for the Singapore government, it's really I would say it's very good in like providing all the funding, such as we have like the Temasek funding, and then also fortunately to have the like breakthrough energy funding to help us de-risk the early stage risk. So that is for the funding side. So in terms of the regulation side, I would say depends on the different sector. So for example, for our side is really focusing on the maritime and also the transportation as well as green chemicals. So they are, since the biobutanol is still a very, very new things, so there are a lot of regulation that we would need to navigate through. So, and since this is a very new things and there is no like regulation being set for that. So I think that is the things that we feel is tough to navigate.
Because this is all emerging, right? So regulation is sort of catching up even as well. That's really, really interesting. And you mentioned about funding from different sources. Do you see like banks coming in to give, sort of working capital loans and, I guess innovative financial products that will help you, sort of commercialize into the next journey? Or has this been quite difficult because of the risk profile?
I would say depends. So for a bank, I would say one of the consideration will be the interest rate.
Okay.
Yes. And I would say it's not really like that difficult to get a bank loan, but you have to consider the interest that it incurs and you have to put that into your budgeting. So let's say if you wanted to like pay back and you are running out of cash flow. So for bank side, they are very low by law. So you can't really like tell them, okay, can we like defer our payment? So I think that is a no things. Yeah. So if you are planning to take a bank loan, I think you probably will need to think twice. I mean, like for
Okay.
our case, yes.
Yes, I can totally imagine. I'm just
Yes.
going to, sort of start wrapping up this really interesting podcast. And Jane, coming back to you, I think we've spoken a lot about the evolving funding landscape. But if you look, in 2026 and beyond, in the sort of short to medium term, what do you think is that one thing that can really help to unlock, financial support as well as ecosystem support for climate tech startups and that you don't see enough of in this region that you hope to see more of?
Well, that's a one thing. I think I can
Maybe
talk
a few things.
I think I want to say this, and I can see this region has a huge potential. Then there's many willing ecosystem players, both from accelerators, incubators, investment communities, as well as government, especially in Singapore. I mentioned that there's the ecosystem is dynamic, very strong. I think one thing we will need a critical mass. Number one, right? So we have willing players, and we need more. As you mentioned, and Yiqing also mentioned, to nurturing the startup from the beginning all the way to end require blended hybrid capital. It's not the VC only. It's not only government. It's not only philanthropy. So it's not only bank. It's require all of them. And I always also tell the startups the same thing, basically saying you need to think about your capital stack strategy from today and also your seed, your series A, B, C, not thinking just the VC, your investor. But then there's also industry, the partnership is actually a form of resources if you think about that. But the details could be when will be the CVC coming. So, but that's a little bit more detail. But I think it's one thing is we need more and those willing players. ecosystem players. And we also need maybe is more how can this come together and optimize the way to supporting the startup. I think a government can play a very, very important role here. Especially, I think Singapore government with the RIE 2030 really emphasizing getting the research to the market. This is very much aligned and
Yes.
driving the sustainability, driving the economic growth. Yeah. So one thing is we need more players, ecosystem players. We also need the players working together to have an optimized way to supporting the startup moving forward.
Yeah, no, I think that's super interesting. And actually, the budget was just announced yesterday. And PM Lawrence Wong has, announced a lot of measures that's basically going into research and innovation. And he also, put a lot of resources into AI. And I wondered, Jane, from your perspective, is Breakthrough looking at sort of like the intersection of AI and clean tech as a very promising area that you're investing into in the future?
Yes, I mentioned earlier, is we're focusing on those 5 grand challenges. But today, AI is almost, you have to say, there are 2 things. One is AI require a huge amount of energy. So that's putting even more, you could say, challenges for sustainable, more reliable, sustainable, low carbon energy because of AI demand grow.
Yeah.
And so that's putting challenges on innovation can help solving, providing more clean energy because of AI, right? But that's also opportunity. But then at the same time, AI can help accelerate discovery and can accelerate manufacturing, can accelerating experimentation, accelerating deployment, for example, in the agriculture space. So there's many places, and Breakthrough Energy has a couple of portfolio company, AI helping discover, explore critical materials. It's basically in the mining space. So there's many examples that AI can actually not only enhancing, it's enabling faster innovation and faster hard tech innovation from the lab to market. So I don't see AI is like a standalone, but it's really integral part of it and the overall innovation space.
In terms of the ecosystem, Jane, I think just wrapping up on that point that you made about willing players. We now have this bifurcation of energy systems, and unfortunately, the US seems to be less willing to participate in this climate ecosystem and climate tech ecosystem. And on the other hand, you see China really sort of taking the lead in terms of the electrification revolution, as well as being leaders in renewable energy, batteries, tech, and AVs, etc. Do you think that in the near future we will see a lot more willingness from the sort of Asia side of the house, or is the world, I suppose, still coming to terms with the geopolitics and how we can respond to that? I'm very curious what you think.
Yeah, I think that certainly that's if you look at the newspaper, hear from the news, social media, that's the sort of a trends. But then if you look at the details, I think US, if we're just thinking about the investment capital available VCs and in the climate tech space, US is still, I was mentioning the critical mass. It's a huge, much bigger in terms of critical mass and also where the capital available for innovation. I can still see the innovation. There's lots of investment can happen in the US. And like I mentioned, this is an emerging market. I want to see more from our region. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's actually opportunity, right? You're at the starting point. That means you will grow faster. And from a startup, from a VC investment perspective. Right. And that's number one. Number two, I do see Asia is that this is not only emerging market, emerging economy. One thing, for example, I mentioned at the other panel is Southeast Asia. In the next decades, we have less than 10% of the population. But actually, the energy demand grows. 25% of them were from Southeast Asia. So that's indicating, and is really this is where you can see this is emerging market, emerging growth.
Yes.
Right. So because of that, then there will be opportunities.
Yes.
And investors were looking into the region. But then on the other hand, well, yeah, innovation plays a key role in this space. So I do see this couple of dots, a couple of you would say the needs to be connected to really thrive the innovation in the region and then attract capitals and to really get a product and company launch. And that means the innovation not only early stage and also all the way go to the market.
Yeah.
I see that's the potential, that's the opportunity. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I like what you said there. The larger the scale of the problem, the larger the opportunity. And I think that that's something that's quite exciting for this region. Yiqing, any last words in terms of advice for budding entrepreneurs and founders like yourself on how to navigate this very evolving ecosystem?
Yeah, so I would say first focus on really solving the real industrial problem and not just the technology itself. So hard tech solution required coordination across multiple stakeholders. So start engaging the ecosystem early and also de-risk systematically. So you have to validate the technology, like establish partnership and gather the performance data before scaling. So demonstration results always speak louder than your presentation. And one last thing is also be persistent with the funding. So look beyond the traditional VC and also explore more vision-aligned investor. Yes, I would say hard tech climate solution, it takes time. And also the sustained support is the key to reaching the commercialization.
Thank you so much. I think that's really well said. And Jane, last words, any advice to budding founders looking in this space?
Yeah, I think I along the same line what Yiqing says, just I want to also just mention to the founders, focus on execution and making real progress on your milestone. Right, given this very uncertain, challenging environment. Yeah, double down on execution, making progress. Secondly, build a relationship with customers and learning about the industry, even though you're still early stage. And that's really important. Third one is watching out your runway and be strategic about the capital, stack.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that really solid advice. And if I can add one as well, I would say don't lose hope because, the current environment is evolving, but climate is a long-term challenge. We have a lot of sustainable development challenges that are going to be here to stay. And where, there are challenges, there are huge opportunities. So thank you both ladies for this really, really fascinating chat. I've really learned so much from the both of you. I would like to say that the Livability Challenge 2026 is still open for submissions now under two themes, decarbonization and Clue Earth, and we will close on the 23rd of February. The finalists will be showcased at the grand finale during Ecosperity Week 2026 in Singapore in May, and I hope that all of you can join us there for it. This podcast was hosted by EcoBusiness, Asia Pacific's leading media and business intelligence organization dedicated to sustainable development. Join the conversation by visiting eco-business.com, follow us on social media and subscribe to our newsletters and membership plans. Thank you for listening.